All right, welcome everyone to Friday Night Live. I apologize for being a few minutes late. Had a lot of good conversation after the game tonight up at Huff. Had some phone calls, had a lot going on. So I'm kind of rushing to jump on here. But once again, welcome to Friday Night Live. We are sponsored by Craig Faile, owner of Blackbridge Financial. For all your financial needs, make sure you check out Blackbridge Financial. They got some great things that they can do with your money to help you grow that money and manage it a lot more efficiently. So, of course, tonight, me and producer were at the big game, which was Mallard Creek at Huff. Huge crowd, first of all. Got to shout out the fans for coming out and packing out the stadium. There's so many people. Huff moved their band to the end zone near the field house to allow for more people to come in and enjoy the game. And what a game it was. I mean, Huff won 33 to nothing. Starting out the game, I felt like both defenses were in charge. I think Mallard Creek's defense did an excellent job slowing Huff down when they had some great field position. I believe the first couple of drives, Huff had the ball deep in Mallard Creek territory and only came away with a field goal for a 3-0 lead. But from there, Mallard Creek's offense just couldn't sustain anything, and the Mallard Creek defense was on the field for most of the night. And then, as it, tends to happen when a defense is out there for so long, they started to get worn down, and Huff was just steady in their approach, and the lead, slowly grew. It got to 19-0 at halftime. Um, on the strength of a Trey Blakeney nice touchdown run off of a zone read. I think that was 2 yards out. Jameson Funderburk had a short touchdown run from a couple yards out. And then Candler Happ, what a great kicker slash punter. Um, that young man pinned Mallard Creek back several times with some great punts. And then his field goal was really good. His extra points were, deep beyond the end zone. And his kickoffs, he had several touchbacks. I was very impressed with him. And I wanted to talk to him after the game because I couldn't find him. So if you see this, Candler, shout out to you. You played an excellent game, and especially early on, really helped with the field position in that game. But I think the other story is the Huff defense. They were really impressive. I don't know about yardage and first downs, but I don't think they gave up much. I really don't. I know Mallard Creek had one big run that got them into the red zone in the game. But other than that, I can't remember any big plays given up by the Huff defense. I mean, all three levels were really sound. And I mean, Cam Sear, Aiden Bell at the linebacker spot, just off the top of my head, really stood out. I thought the corners played really well. I mean, Mallard Creek really didn't take many deep shots that I can remember. And I think that's a respect to what those guys did on the outside. Um, and then also the DB supported well in the run game. I mean, it was a complete team win for Huff in all three phases. And you can clearly say that they are the best team in Charlotte. I mean, at this point, I don't think it's close. I had them 1-2 in the CMS best of last. Huff is clearly number one in my opinion. We got some interviews after the game with offensive lineman Deontay Berry. He was a homecoming king, and I thought that was really cool. And he did the interview in his crown, which that was the first, first that I've ever done. So that was a cool interview. Put that out on our social media, and then we talked to Tyron Evans, who is the star wide receiver for the Huskies. If you don't know which one that is, he was the tall receiver tonight who made a couple of just impressive catches deep down the field. He was just barely outside the end zone on both of them. But he's been getting a lot of recruiting attention, and rightfully so. And it was great to talk with him. And I wanted to get a couple more guys, but it was homecoming, and players get scattered after the game. So may try to talk to a couple other people through our online studio platform. But I think Huff, really flexed their muscle on both sides of the ball tonight. All right, so that's where we were. I see a lot of comments coming in, so let's keep them coming. This is your show. If you've never watched Friday Night Live, whatever you post is what we talk about. I haven't seen many scores, so please share the score of your game and any thoughts that you have. We got 14 comments in the bucket, so let's get it going. Let's see here. She's first. Yes, and yes, thank God it's Friday. What a week. What a week it was, Kim. Yes, we did make it. I need this weekend bad, man. Bad, personally. James Law, there's Huff's #1 fan. There he is. He also says Huff's winning states. Well, I mean, they got to be a favorite. You got to be a favorite based on what I saw tonight, man. It was really impressive. Coach Peavy checking in. Our man, J-Man from Mooresville, running back. I put out a couple of his highlights that he shared on Instagram, so you want to check those out. Feel free to check those out. Mooresville had a big win over West Cabarrus tonight, 49-0. Impressive stuff right there. Mr. Mitchell, another Huff guy. What a game. The Huff defense is serious. Offense got rolling, and that was it. Yeah. Yeah, I think the word after the game was anticlimactic. I think that was the one everyone kind of settled in on because, it was a big build up to it. And, Huff just went out there and played good football. And it wasn't much drama. It wasn't much drama for sure. Trayvon Gaither says Corbian beats Community School of Davidson 47-7. Wow. He said Corbian just had their way tonight. Think Corbian can make a very deep playoff run. Yeah, that's been a sentiment among some 1A people that Corbian has a shot at the state championship. They have a lot of talent for a 1A team, and they have a lot of very good two-way players. And in Charlotte, we don't see that as much. But when you get down into 1A, your best players can go both ways. And it can make a big difference when you have, several good two-way players like Corbian has. I mean, you talk about, the quarterback slash cornerback, Andre Jackson Jr. You talk about Douglas Quarles, who can play receiver and defensive end. Adrian Scott, who can do the same thing. Cameron Johnson, who I've shouted out on Pet Man's Players a couple of times at running back and linebacker. And then they have another young man, his last name's Best. I think he was just featured in the Charlotte Observer. And then, of course, Mr. Peavy's son, who plays offensive line too. When you got, that much talent that can do, so many different things on a 1A level, it's hard to account for because usually, in 1A, you have a couple of good players and, that's it. And then the rest of the team is just kind of supplemented by those guys. But, Corbian has several guys that, can attack on both sides of the ball. Talented skill guys, good linemen. And when it comes together, you get results like that one right there that Trayvon shared. A 47-7 win over a good Community School of Davidson team. James Law back to Huff says, how about that O-line? I've seen a lot of good runs. Yeah. Deontay Berry, who we interviewed, is the captain of that O-line. And, we talked about it on the show on Wednesday. They have a talented offensive line. I mean, Keondae Marsh at center is going to the Shrine Bowl. Amari Lawrence, left tackle, was an all-conference player last year. Jarvis Potts on the other side at right tackle, I believe he was all-conference last year. Barry is guard, and the other lineman, I mean, I can't remember his name offhand, but they all work very well as a unit, and they can run block very well, as you saw tonight, with different backs. Jackson Enciso, I think he had a really good game, both running and catching the ball at the backfield. Um, Jameson Funderburk had the touchdown run I mentioned earlier. Trey Blakeney getting involved in the run game. It's multiple, and you can do those kind of things when you have a good foundation like the Huskies have, for sure. Our Dudley guy, greatest high school homecoming on earth. Dudley 70-0 over Rockingham County. Yeah, we saw that score. At halftime, we were looking at some scores during the game, and Dudley. I mean, we keep saying it. Dudley is real. And they're going to be there. They're going to be there in the 3A playoffs. They're going to be there deep in the 3A playoffs like they were last year. But, I've been talking to a couple of people about playoffs, and it's really just about matchups and who can match up with you and possibly slow you down. And you start thinking about it, with Dudley in that offense, last year Hickory got them in a shootout. And I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's going to take somebody who has that kind of offensive firepower that can keep up with Dudley. And you start looking at 3A and your options there. I mean, you got Hickory again. And then, maybe J.M. Robinson, who's no one's talking about right now, but they got that kind of offensive firepower. So you think about strong offensive teams that could challenge Hickory. Not Hickory, but Dudley. It really just comes down to matchups. But the way it's looking, Dudley's going to be at home, and going into Dudley is not something easy to do. So you got to like their chances for sure. Armani Bird, our Clover guy, says, tell Big Shelby and Coach Dub not to bet against Clover ever again. I will pass that along in our group chat. Got the W against Indiana 21-7. And yeah, Trip Stone is, we saw at Butler over the years. He's a very good defense coordinator. Going back to his time at Mallard Creek as well. He's a really good coach. And I'm not surprised to see that. But congrats to Clover. That's a good win down there. It's a good win for you guys, man. Chat administrators here, says Barry Sanders. I mean, Jaden had the run of the year that didn't count. Yeah. J-Man, I am really, really happy to see, you going out there and doing your thing, man. It makes, it makes me proud, man, because I know how much you really love the game. And I mean, like you said, you watch this show and, a lot of kids, on Friday nights are chilling with, their friends or, hanging out with the girlfriend or just worn out from the game. I know me after the game, I just wanted to eat and lay down. So, appreciate you, man. I'm glad you really coming out there and doing some big things on the field. All right, Alex Riley the fourth. Thank you with this score, man, because I saw this was going back and forth. I said Olympic with a great win over Myers Park 33-30. Wow, what a game, man. Hopefully I can see some highlights of that because that sounds like a real good one. But the SOMEC, man, that is a fun conference this year. It's wide open. And that's a big win for Olympic to keep them in contention, in that league. They're going to be big fans of Ardrey Kell because Ardrey Kell plays Palisades next week, I believe. Well, I know Ardrey Kell and Palisades haven't played, so that's the one game that, Ardrey Kell needs to win to help Olympic out a little bit to have a shot at possibly a piece of the conference title. I got to look at the standings and see how it may shake out. But nonetheless, that win will help Olympic in their pursuit of a playoff berth. That's a big loss for Myers Park, who is not the same team, unfortunately, after Mr. Lockhart, their quarterback, who's very talented, suffered an injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. But yeah, I'd love to see some stats and highlights from that one right there. Congrats on that big win. That score in the Mooresville game, 49-0, won that in the trenches. Yeah, I saw that with a lot of touchdown runs in that one, man. Good stuff. Joe Hughes. This was a big win. Ashbrook 17, South Point 14. That is a huge one for the Green Wave. That creates a logjam at the top of the Big South 3A conference. I believe you're going to have now South Point, Ashbrook, Crest, and Kings Mountain all with one loss. Wow. That's a lot. There's a lot going on right there, man. Like I said about Olympic and Myers Park, I'd love to see, the breakdown in this one. How that came about. I know it was nip and tuck all the way through. But congrats to Coach James and the Ashbrook Green Wave. This is a signature win for those guys. They've been building the last couple of years, and now they've reached a point where, they're here, and they're a threat. We talk about 3A. Ashbrook is 3A, and you start thinking about it. They're built on defense, and offensively they do enough to complement each other and win football games. They have a good running game. They take their shots in a timely fashion, throwing the football with the young quarterback. I believe it's McLean at quarterback. It's a kind of a dual, not dual, yeah. I don't know, how would I say it? They got a couple different backs. Martino Smith at running back. J.J. Gordon gets in there at running back. McLean at the quarterback spot can run it. I feel like I'm forgetting one other running back. But they have a good nucleus of kids that have grown in that program. I think Pagan on the D-line is a load to deal with. Obviously, Caleb Gordon, now highly recruited at middle linebacker, is a real talent. And they've got some other players who play their roles very well, and it all, is fitting together, and it's impressive to watch. Congratulations to the Green Wave for sure. Chat administrator waiting in the South Iredale, 38-17. Wow, that's impressive. Great job, South Iredale. Yeah, definitely emotional week. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, number 2, Caden Everhart, was involved in a serious automobile accident. It looks like that he's getting better now, but I'm sure that was an emotional thing for your teammates and coaches to deal with. And they went out there. It looks like they went out there and really played with that emotional engine behind them, and that's an impressive win. That is really good stuff, man. Congrats to South Iredale, and now they're a factor coming up in the playoffs here. And I think next week on the show we're going to take a look at RPIs and talk about some scenarios, what teams are in, what teams are on the bubble, what teams are out, and just give everybody an idea of what it looks like. And thank you for that score, Coach. Yep, 47-7 for Corvian right there. Toby Taylor says Palisades. Well, what about Palisades, man? I know they played Valentine Ridge. I haven't seen the score. The last update I saw it was 27-0. So, let us know what the final score was. Yeah. I mean, we were there last week and was very impressed with them. Talked about them a lot last week on the show. Coach Simmons doing a great job with that program. They got a lot of talented guys over there that are playing their roles well. And the saying, do your job, was echoed in the interviews that we did after that game. So once you get that, drilled into a team's heads and everybody's mind in, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. Trayvon Gaither, Statesville 49-13 over North Iredale. Yeah, it's good to see Statesville really getting the offense going right there. That's strong. That's strong. And it always feels like this is the time of year where Statesville starts to get everything going in a positive direction. And they get in the playoffs, they end up knocking off a higher seed on the road, and they're starting to make a run. So that's a team you got to watch. That's a team that I'm sure if you're a higher seed in 3A, you don't want to see them coming into your house on the road because they have a track record of going on the road and upsetting teams in the playoffs for sure. Kim Watts, Barry over Garinger, 40-8. Good win for Barry right there. I'm really happy that I believe was this a home game because there were some people that were asking us to come out there and we couldn't get out there because we had already committed to Huff Mallard Creek last week, so we couldn't get over there. But I told a couple of people I was wanting to get Barry, at some point before the season is over. There are some good kids over there, and Coach Darius Robinson, in his first year, is doing a good job of establishing a foundation for what he wants to do and what he wants that program to be. Defense coordinator Fitzgerald Marsh has worked our CFI showcase camps a couple times as a defensive line coach. But yeah, Marquez Allison, I think, is a standout player for those guys, kind of on defense as a outside linebacker / strong safety type of player. Jay-Sean Shaw is a good player on defense. And then, of course, Joshua Watts, who you might know, Kim, I think is a good defensive lineman. So they've got some good kids over there, and I'm glad they got a chance to enjoy, a good victory tonight. I think that's 2 in a row for Barry because they beat Valentine Ridge last week. So definitely trending in the right direction for sure. Jaden Covington says, what do we think about the J.M. Robinson Northwest Cabarrus game next week? Well, wow, you are on it. That's going to be a game we talk about next week on Football Focus Weekly on Wednesday night. I'll give you a short version of what I think. The running back for Northwest Cabarrus, Jarlin Dry, I saw Northwest Cabarrus earlier this season, and he is having a monster season. I think he's approaching 1,500 yards rushing. He's probably one of the best kept secrets in the Charlotte metro area. Very patient runner, lets his blocks develop, but then once he hits that one step, he explodes through the hole. And he's going to be a big, big piece if Northwest Cabarrus is going to get a victory, because I think Northwest Cabarrus is going to have to run the football well and keep a powerful J.M. Robinson offense off the field. Northwest Cabarrus has a very good offensive lineman in Nolan Irwin committed to Elon. He's going to be a big part of that type of game plan. You think about J.M. Robinson, of course, John Bissonette, the quarterback spot, is having a good season. L.J. Smooth Watson at running back is pairing with a young freshman in Ennis Styles. Those guys are running the ball well. It's keeping the balance in the passing game. It opens it up for a very, very talented trio of receivers in Brian Rowe, Dominic Testa, and Xavier Burnett. They've got a big offensive line at J.M. Robinson. Those guys work together well in sync. Then defensively, I really like Nick White at linebacker. They line him up, and he comes off the edge. He's a great pass rusher. Aiden Black on the defensive line gets penetration to help slow down the inside running game. And then you look at the secondary, and Jamarcus Hunter is one of the best guys in Cabarrus County in the secondary as a defensive back. They're good at all 3 levels. Their special teams are good. So I think the best way for Northwest Cabarrus to try to beat them is to run the football, control the clock. Northwest Cabarrus defensively, I really love Josiah McLean and the outside backer / strong safety role. Jackson Forrest in the middle is a tackling machine. Anderson Lee is very good in the secondary. So there's a lot of talent on both sides of the ball there. So you got me talking too much, Jaden. I said we're gonna talk about it next week. But there's a little preview for you. Let's see. Zion Bus Lindsay, what's up, man? How'd Monroe do? Let me know how Monroe did. I hadn't seen a score for you guys yet, but Yeah, good to see you, man. One of my favorite players right there. Thank you, Jessica, for this update. So it's Palisades 48, Valentine Ridge 0 tonight. Good win for the Pumas right there. Coach PB, thank you. Noah Best, that was the young man that I was talking about earlier when we were talking about Corvian. Charlotte Observer did a story about him. I think he was named their player of the week. So good stuff right there. Chat Administrator says Maiden 28, Bunker Hill 0. I don't even remember who I picked. I don't even know who I picked, but that's a great win for Maiden. Bunker Hill, they definitely run the football very well, but it looks like Maiden had a good plan for that. So that's another wild conference right there. There's a lot of teams kind of tied for the top spot, I believe, off the top of my head. Yeah, that's good stuff. Alonzo Dent Jr., coach checking in 51-6, Tabor over Glenn. See y'all in November. Yeah, Mount Tabor's always in the mix in 4A. Always in the mix. We've seen Mount Tabor come down to Charlotte a couple times. I think Butler knocked them out last year when they came down here. So they played East Forsyth pretty close a couple weeks ago. So they're a team that you're going to have to account for. A lot of good athletes. Talk about Jaden Blair, Peterkin at receiver. Some talented guys up in the Trade 4, as they call it. Jason McRory, our RGKL guy. 8K over South Mick, 22-20. Man, y'all have been playing some good football down there. And when I say good football, I mean really entertaining games to watch. South Mick, another close loss, man. They've been right there. They were knocking on the door, man. And then we talked about Olympic over Myers Park, but good win for RGKL. That keeps them in playoff contention. And like I said, we'll talk more about playoffs on a Football Focus Weekly. Let's see. Our man Mizzle dropping the M for Mooresville. Yeah. Mooresville is definitely got it rolling, man. Let's see right here. We got a lot of comments coming in. Okay. Jessica says Palisades has a bye next. I knew that. Yeah, thank you, Jessica. I knew the bye week was in there somewhere, but I appreciate that right there. Let's see. So Joe says there's a 5-way tie in the loss column in the Big South 3A. Wow. Yeah, I think Huss is the 5th team in there. Okay. Wow, man. What's Ashbrook Kings Mountain next week? Good gracious. There's some fun football down there. That's great, man. Great stuff. And then Joe says McLean to Savion. Thank you. He was the other running back. Thank you. McLean to Savion Lindsay proved to be the winning touchdown. Awesome, man. Good stuff right there. Once again, congrats to Ashbrook. That's awesome, man. Gary Ashley, thank you for this update. Raven got 46. That's Providence Day 13. Wow. Yeah, thank you. Yep, I got you. But wow. That's a wow. Those teams we talked about it on the show on Wednesday. Those teams have been matching up, the last few years in the NCISAA playoffs. And, usually it's been the championship game when the second time it's been a rematch. And those games have always been close. That's why I'm so shocked that this is such a big margin. I can't remember the last time Providence Day got beat like that. It had to be before Coach Greer took over. Wow. Raven Gap has some really good players. I mean, we're talking about nationally ranked players that on that team. So congrats to Raven Gap, but Providence Day, that's surprising. That's surprising right there. Lindell Porter checking in. Says Charlotte Christian 44, Charlotte Latin 7. Yeah. Latin was undefeated, and we shouted them out, and they were on the regional ranking, we do the Dirty Dozen as a team that was knocking on the door. And, I think I said this last week, maybe, that when you get to this point of the year and you see undefeated teams and they start, to play some of those big conference games, I used to call that exam time. And is that, are they going to pass the exam? Because now you're facing somebody who really knows you. I think Charlotte Latin played a lot of new teams this year in their schedule that didn't really know them. But, I mean, you got to shout out Troy Logan, their quarterback, who's had an awesome season so far. But Charlotte Christian, yeah, that's a good win. That's a good statement for Christian, because sometimes, I start thinking about, when teams start to make that creep up, and we kind of talked about it tonight with, kind of like big brother, little brother thing. And Latin's having a special season this year. And then, Christian, you could look at them as maybe the big brother saying, well, hold on now, it's a special year, but, we still got work to do. And, Christian getting that done combined with the Raven Gap win over Providence Day, we could be setting up, like we always talk about, another repeat matchup in the first round of the NCISAA playoffs between Christian and Providence Day. So that'd be a lot of fun if that happens. Jaden Covington also checking in again. J.M. Robinson 48, South Rowan 7. Yeah, that's a great win. Great win for J.M. Robinson. And we just talked about, obviously, what they got coming up next week. Let's see here. Scrolling. Thank you, Cam. Yep, we talked about that one a good bit. Congrats on the win once again, man. And keep tagging me in your stuff, man. You're doing a great job this season. Tyree Bailey says, wish Smoke from Huff gets some targets just out there on the island. Hey, now, Tyree, let's be smart now. I've been offense coordinator before in my past life as a coach. And when you've got a talented, highly ranked corner who, shuts down great receivers on a regular basis, why would I throw at him? Why would anyone want to do that, man? Because it's a very low percentage play. I mean, I think we all would like great players to continuously make great plays when they get the opportunity, but I mean, I think it's smart football not to go at a player that I think deserves to be a 5-star player. And he, watching him tonight a couple times, he just loves the game. He's out there, dancing around, celebrating his teammates on the sideline. But yeah, I mean, from what I saw from him tonight, there wasn't a lot of opportunity. It was smart that he didn't get picked on, because it wouldn't have been, much success behind that. All right. Jason Hubbard checking in. If you guys don't know Jason Hubbard, let me tell you something. I think it's 13 and a half sacks so far this season for Metrolina Christian. And that's impressive. I mean, 13 and a half sacks is impressive no matter where you do it. And, I wrote about him recently. Electric pass rusher. Really fun to watch. But to this point, Metrolina defeated Country Day 21-0, which is wow. Country Day, I think, is a good football team. So that's a really good win for Metrolina Christian, especially get a shutout because Country Day has some guys that can, really do some things with the ball in their hands. So looks like Metrolina's starting to peak. They had the big win last week, or we talked about Jeremy Williams. They had a big game with 7 rushing touchdowns and over 300 yards on the ground. And now the defense goes out there and shows out and pitches a shutout. So awesome stuff, man. Thank you for this one, chat administrator. Reedsville 41, Walkertown 26. I believe the score was 28-20 after 3. Good ball game there. Well, what we saw at halftime, we were checking scores. Walkertown was leading Reedsville at halftime 20-14. So, yeah, I mean, Coach Tatum is the OC at Walkertown, and he's on our show on Wednesday nights. And, I don't say this a lot, but people need to, give Coach Tatum his flowers because, he's a young man who really studies football very well. He has done a ton of YouTube videos on different run schemes. He loves to kind of, get into the schematic stuff of the game. He loves, his kids up there. They sound like, when we talk about it, they're very close. They do a lot of bonding things. And I felt like, they had a shot here because they are very well coached. And they have a couple of guys that we've highlighted in Pet Man's players so far this season. They have the talented running back. Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name now. The wide receiver we highlighted. We did an interview with Mitron Curry, a talented wide receiver they have. So for them to be competitive with Reedsville all the way through doesn't surprise me. For Reedsville to get the win, that doesn't surprise me either. They have a lot of great talent as well. But Walkertown's going to be one of those teams, once again, you don't want to see them early in the playoffs because they're well coached. And you don't know much about them. They're, last season they weren't that great. They have a new head coach now in Honeycutt, who's come in and done a great job along with Coach Tatum. So, yeah, that's good stuff right there for both sides in this one. Let's see here. Karen Belt checking in says Independent 62, East Mex 0. Yes, I did see that score. Jaden Jones played about 1 quarter, at least 3 touchdowns. Also, Independent's offense and defense looked great. Backup quarterback played and scored, defense unreal. Yeah. I saw East Mex a couple weeks back with Coach Sanders and those guys. It just gets into a numbers game. And, at this point in the season, there are several teams that are just dealing with injuries and different things. And, when you get, these kind of, one-sided matchups, it's just tough. It's tough, man. But shout out to Independence going out there and doing what they need to do. And they're building up towards that end of season matchup with Butler coming up in a couple weeks. Let's see here. Lindell Porter says we'll have to come out to Christian Providence Day Part 2 if it happens. We've done that before. I've covered that game a couple of times, and it was a fun game. I think I covered it. I covered it when Christian won at Providence Day, when Henry Rutledge was there, who's now at UNC Charlotte at running back. And I feel like I covered it when Providence Day won. I think that might have been the state championship game a couple years ago. So, yeah, it's a fun game. It's a fun game to cover just because the two schools really don't like each other and the energy's different. So, yeah, we'll definitely have to work it out depending on how the schedule falls for sure. JP's asking for a score for the Hopewell game. Well, let me go to the ticker because the comments are slowing down. So I'll see if we got one in the ticker for you, sir. Who did Hopewell play? Maybe that'll help find it for us here. But I'm trying to get the ticker up. It looks like it's gonna be a little janky tonight, so just bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves, as we used to say. All right, and we're getting there. I'm gonna sort this. All right, so the ticker tells me, all right, we got Watauga over Alexander Central 49-21. Monroe big over Anson County 55-0. Charlotte Catholic defeated Butler 34-14. That was a game we talked about on the show right there. That's a big win for Charlotte Catholic. Believe that guarantees them at least a share of the Southwestern 4A Conference Championship. Providence over our friend Coach McClamrock and Rocky River 45-15. Let's see here. Carver over Pine Lake in a good game 28-26. Forest Hills big over Piedmont 49-0. High Point Christian big over Hickory Grove. Wow, 41-0. Union Academy knocks off Lake Norman Charter. This is the first loss for Lake Norman Charter. I've been talking about them a lot, but Union Academy got them 13-10 in a good football game. Looks like Chambers, I have to confirm this one. Chambers over North Meck 32-6. Northwest Bears 28, Concord 7. The ticker does not have an update on West Meck Hopewell. That's not good. Hope we can find that somewhere. Lake Norman over Cox Mill 35-10. Carson over East Rowan 42-28. Oh, it was homecoming at Harding. It was not a fun homecoming for the Rams. West Charlotte big over Harding 72-0. Oh, tough times, man. Tough times. We'll hang in there. Cuthbertson over Porter Ridge, another close game in the what is that conference called? The Union County Conference. I can't think of my conference names. But Cuthbertson 15, Porter Ridge 12. Cannon big over South Lake Christian 35-3. North Rowan over West Davidson 34-9. Kings Mountain big over Stuart Kramer 41-0. East Lincoln over St. Stephen's 42-12. Burns over East Gaston 49-20. Salisbury over Lexington 37-16. Let's see what else we got here. Mount Pleasant over Albemarle 30-8. Hickory huge over West Iredale 76-10. Got North Stanley over South Stanley 29-12. Good win for them to bounce back. Crest over Forest View 30-0. Northwestern big over Rock Hill 55-7. Looks like I don't think that's a final score. We'll say that one. Richmond County over Lee County 48-21. Bandies 27. Newton Conover 6. All right. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Ty John. West Meck 27, Hopewell 6. Oh, good win. Okay, well, 33-6. All right. Either way, West Meck gets their second win on the season. All right, good stuff. James Law. Boy, Huff? Man, I talked to Huff about 15. How do I feel? I said it. I think they're the number one team in Charlotte. And that's how I feel. They're strong in all three phases. I think a team, if you're gonna beat Huff, you're gonna have to, really play strong defense. And I thought Malik Creek did that early, but you've got to find a way to attack them on offense. And the only success that we've seen teams have against Huff was Northwestern in week 1, and that was throwing the football. So you got to find a team that can really throw the football. You start thinking about it. You think about the team that knocked them out in the playoffs last year, and that was Grimsley. They've got the talented quarterback in Brandon up there. They got some guys on the outside that can catch the ball. They got the dynamic running back in Summers. It's going to have to take a strong offensive team that can, keep, the Huff defense on the field a little bit and play a balanced football game. But even then, you think about throwing the football, you're talking about, having to throw against the secondary that we just, talked about with, Samari Matthews, RJ Rayner, who had a couple good plays tonight. And then the safeties who, we don't talk about much, but Morgan Linton, and oh gosh, these names. Can't think of the other young man that's back there. I think it's Carmel Quick, number 18. So that's tough, man. That's tough. So I think they're a contender for a state championship. All right, so we'll finish with this. So we'll see with Mooresville. We'll see what they got. They've got some elements that I really like. They've got some skill guys that are playing well. Brody Norman is having another great season. Obviously, we talked about the running game with not only J-Man, but Mr. Heel in the backfield. They got a big offensive line that's talented. They got Gavin Barber at tight end. And they've got the other young man, I think it's Chance Bost, number 11, who is a talented kind of slot receiver. Who, if you start focusing on the other guys, he can come up and hurt you. And then defensively, with Jamari Farmer in the middle, along with Tanner Finnerty, KJ Gillespie, is a really good defensive lineman, and then AJ Graham in the secondary. They've got, the elements of, a strong football team. So that's why they're playing so well. All right. All that being said, this is a long Friday Night Live. Y'all really had a lot to say tonight, and I appreciate that. Once again, remember, we are sponsored by Craig Faile, who is the owner of Blackbridge Financial. Make sure you check out Blackbridge Financial for all of your financial and money needs. I'll have pictures tonight from Huff and Mallow Creek. We may have highlights depending on if I get them done before too long tonight. Pretty tired. It's been a long week, like Kim said. And I'll let Kim take us out. Everybody take a rest tomorrow. Enjoy some college football. We'll see you on Wednesday night on Football Focus Weekly at 8 p.m. on these same outlets. Thanks everybody for staying up with us. We appreciate you, and we'll see you soon. Have a good weekend, everybody.